Hey guys, Puzzle here coming at you with my updated Umi control, Kairyu-Shin control, whatever you want to call it control. Okay, water control. So, um, as you guys know, I love this deck. I live and breathe this deck. This is like comfort food for me. I wanted to kind of play Yu-Gi-Oh! The ban list hasn't been released. I was waiting for the ban list to drop before I made a video, but yeah, I don't think we're gonna be getting that anytime soon. So, like I said, I live and breathe this deck. This deck is my comfort, so I always go back to it. I always update it, and honestly, it's really good, this format. Like, surprisingly, it gets a lot of people off guard, and it's the deck that I've just been playing. I have the most theory crafting with it. I have the most discussions with it. So I'm going to get right to the deck profile. This is going to be a long video. If you guys want the deck image down below, just click it. It's always there. Also, if you guys just want to discuss some of my ratios, I am very adamant on my ratios, especially in this deck because I'm so passionate about it. Please leave a comment down below and I'll explain why, and maybe you can alter some of my ideas. So let's get right to it. So number one, this is Umi control. No sharks, no Umi sharks. I'm not running any sharks. Okay, I do have a version of that deck that if you guys want, I can upload. It's a very explosive deck, but unfortunately, it's also very inconsistent, I'm sorry. And I can go a little bit more in depth into that, but this is Umi control. Okay, I think it's the most competitive version of the deck, and let's just jump right into it. Okay, three, Kairyu-Shin. So I have videos and videos on this, so I don't think I should really be able to go too in depth on the cards. You guys already know it's a walking gozen match. No player can control can only control one non-water. Okay, and once per turn you can activate it and add something that states a Sea Stealth or a Kairyu-Shin or a Umi. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So this card literally searches out your entire deck. You need to get this card out. This card is your win button. It lets you control your board. Okay, and it's supporting cast member 3 electric jellyfish. If this is Dragon Lord, this is like, I don't know, Squire or something like that, right? Or like Knight, because this right here is what you will always have out. 1 electric jellyfish, 1 Kairyu-Shin. That is your ideal board with a legendary ocean behind it, right? So this is essentially your semi-omni negate. Negates once per turn spell or a monster effect. So please keep that in mind, only once, and it gains 600 attack, but also just make sure to negate the important thing, right? Don't get baited. It does not negate traps, meaning it can't negate imperm. So please, just a word of advice that I wanted to put in the video: if you open up a hand where you open up an electric jellyfish, a Kairyu-Shin, and a I don't know, a legendary ocean, right? So all your water monsters go down by 1 level. Please just normal summon the Kairyu-Shin. It's just the safest and the simplest thing for you to do. That way, if your opponent imperms you, you don't hard lose, right? Because if they imperm the electric jellyfish, it does send as cost, by the way, so you do have to send the effect as cost to special summon a water monster from your hand. But you would lose, right? Because you have electric jellyfish, unless you have something like a dark reef or something, or like a Sea Stealth too, right? You would just probably lose the game. So please take the safe play. We kind of have to adapt playing this deck, meaning just like Kashtira, they can zone lock all of you, right? And then in the end of the day, the deck ended up just being a Rise Heart Pass, right? So we can do the same exact thing, right? Instead of being electric jellyfish special summon Kairyu-Shin, we can just normal summon Kairyu-Shin and control the board from there. So please keep that in mind, right? I would say the deck's hardest matchup is probably Kashtira, because they do run Ogre, which is a water monster. But also because if we go first, we have a solid shot, right? But if they go first, they can just sit on a Rise Heart Pass. It's not even the zone locks that kill us, right? But a Rise Heart Pass, just, they can endlessly pop our cards, and we just can't get a solid footing, right? So just be mindful of that, okay? I wanted this deck, I wanted to cut out the excess meat. I wanted this to be the most competitive. Obviously, some of the ratios can be, worked around, all depending on player preference, but I'm going to state my player preference, what is best for my locals. So just keep that in mind. Also, Droll Lockbird is a card. So right now, so the deck doesn't like hard lose to Droll Lockbird, but I'd rather get my Kairyu-Shin search other than any other card in the deck, right? Because it gets me into like my traps, it gets me into my you know, my sea stealths. So please keep that in mind. For the supporting cast to the control, right? So if those two monsters are your main control tools, these are your supporting cast members, right? I'm running 2 Warrior of Atlantises. So people that play this deck a lot know that in the end of the day, you get hands where you do not have a Legendary Ocean and you lose the game. As simple as that. You lose the game, right? This deck, you need a Legendary Ocean to play the game. You need it. 2 Warrior of Atlantis just facilitates that. But then there's also players that say that this is too much, right? Because you can open up a Warrior of Atlantis and like 2 Legendary Oceans, and that's kind of sucks, right? So unfortunately, it's just kind of like a coin flip, right? By all means, I've played 1 Warrior of Atlantis before, and it's done just fine. I have played no Warrior of Atlantises before, and even in the end of the day, it doesn't feel the best, but it works, right? Because all you need to do is see a Legendary Ocean. That's all you need to do, and the deck plays a lot of Legendary Oceans, right? This is essentially a copy of Legendary Ocean. Like I said, you need to see it. I'm running 2. I've played with 1, and it's perfectly fine, but I kind of... I don't want to just lose without playing the game. That's my rationale behind it. I don't want to draw my opening hand and already lose the game because I didn't open a Legendary Ocean or a way to normal summon or special summon my Kairyu-Shin. So I just want to minimize that. I kind of wanted to do like a test hand video where I do 10 opening hands on Dueling Book, and then I play it out so you guys can see how it is. So let me know if you guys want me to do that. I can make that the next video. Like I said, I'm very passionate about this deck, you know? Yeah. For the last Umi monster, 1 Maiden of Aqua. Okay. So yeah, but Puzzled, you said you wanted the cards to do, you know, things on their own and stuff like that. Look, listen. So with, okay, Mega Fortress Whale. I am not running Mega Fortress Whale, okay? Mega Fortress Whale, it's too hard of a brick. It sucks drawing it, okay? If it gets destroyed, more than likely, you're not going to be getting its effect off to special summon a warrior, water, whatever thing. And the deck can win without it. It's not an aspect that it needs it to win. Doom Kraken. I'm also not playing Doom Kraken. Doom Kraken is a fantastic card when it works, but unfortunately, you need other cards for it to work. My worst hands have always been Legendary Ocean, normal summon Doom Kraken, or something like that, right? Like, I've only seen Doom Kraken as my 1 monster, and that just, it's unfortunate. It's the nature of the deck. Decks do break, but I do not want that to happen, and I will minimize inconsistency and try to maximize consistency. Doom Kraken is great. It just, to me, I'm not running it. I'm not running it. Maybe, you know, one of you guys can convince me otherwise, but I've been doing just fine on Dueling Book and at locals with this. Going back to the main topic, Maiden of Aqua. So Maiden of Aqua is treated as Umi, while there's no other face-up field spell in the deck. So multiple times, if you guys have played this deck, right, you can come across the fact that it's like, okay, you have a Legendary Ocean and, like, let's just say an Electric Jellyfish in hand, right? But you don't have anything else, no way to get to your Kairyu-Shin, and you have like a Dark Reef, hypothetically, right? But if you were to activate Dark Reef, you send a Legendary Ocean and you special summon out your 2 water monsters, well, you don't have a Legendary Ocean on the board, meaning that your Walking Gozen match gets turned off. Your Semi-Omni Negate gets turned off. So what's the point of that? So this just has saved me so many times. I guess it has like a sweet spot for me in the deck. Me personally, I don't think you can really run. You can run the deck without it. It's just, it's dangerous. Okay, it's dangerous. Because you can send a Legendary Ocean and then you can activate Dark Reef, special summon out your water monster and Maiden, and the field gets treated as Umi, right? Again, so it just gives you, this card has saved me because it has given me enough control over the board, you know, to protect me, right? So I don't know. I love this card. I think it's really, really good. And I very much think it's very much needed in this deck. By all means, if you think otherwise on any of my ratios, please let me know. I am not running a vanilla. I wanted to cut off the excess fat of the deck. Very simple. If you drew whatever vanilla you're running, well, that's already a dead card in hand. It is very nice to have another monster that interacts with Sea Stealth Attack, the trap. or just to push for damage because it's usually higher than 2k, but it still sucks. It doesn't matter if you're running a level 4, it doesn't matter if you're running a level 5 or a level 10 water monster. Okay, it just sucks drawing it, and unfortunately, this deck is slow enough as it is. It cannot afford those type of draws, like drawing into Mega Fortress or drawing into a a Terra King Salmon or something like that, right? So I am also running the one Gamma Seal. This card is just fantastic. It's free in this deck, right? It's searchable. It's free. Why not run it, right? If you already have your Kairyu-Shin in rotation on the board in your hands, why not search the Gamma Seal, right? It's an extra kind of surprise factor. There's a lot of branded at my locals, meaning that there's a lot of Dragoon players at my locals. So this just deals with that card. That is it for the like Umi supporting cast. So again, if you guys have any concerns or questions, please leave them down in the comment section down below. I've probably said it a million times in this video, but I love this deck, right? So for the only hand trap that I feel is like really MVP, unless you can run shifter, but even then, 3 draw. Draw is a turn skip. Draw is a turn skip, right? Pearly, not to mention super heavy samurai, right? Not to mention Kashtira, not to mention anything. Like, okay, this card is just fantastic. I wanted to run a hand trap, and I chose draw, right? You can also make space in this deck. Like I said, you can cut off a couple of my cards because I have played with a couple of my cards ratio down, like 1 Warrior of Atlantis and a couple of other things drop down, and you can play like 3 Ash and 3 draw, right? That's also really good. But like I said, I just, I'm still messing with the deck. The deck has a lot of room for not only personal taste, but also for your own personal playstyle. Going back to the main topic, draw is, I think, one of the MVP, one of the MVPs in the format, right? It's a turn skip. And if you can slow down the state of the game to a point where you can get Kairyu-Shin out, well, you'll probably just win, right? Perfect example. On chain rope, on Flu's going first, right? Robina, Eaglin, Chainlink 3. You know what I mean? After Robina adds, I'm sorry. After Robina adds on resolution, you can drop the draw, and nothing can really happen. So yeah, draw I think is a must in most, if not all, decks right now. Kind of like Ash was last format. Okay, and I guess I should also use this time to talk about Ash. The reason why I didn't want to include Ash is because every deck can play around Ash. Not around Ash where they can get ashed, but if you ash 1 card, even if it's a really good card, I mean, they can probably still end on a pretty good board. At least from my experiences, right? Unless you're ashing a branded fusion, and even then, it's like, whatever. Nowadays, to me, it's just not worth it. So there was really no other hand trap. I really wanted to fill in the extra 3 slots. So I just decided to add more supporting cast members to the main, show. For the actual spell cards, 3 Legendary Ocean, 1 Terraforming, 2 Sea Stealth. 2 Sea Stealth 2. Okay, so let's talk about this. Number 1, Legendary Ocean, you need it. It is your oxygen. If a Kairyu-Shin is your body, Legendary Ocean is your oxygen, right? You need it. Or I guess I should say lungs, right? So you just need it. So right here, it is, 2 Warrior of Atlantis. So let's count. We have 3 Legendary Ocean, 4 with Terraforming, right? 2 Warrior of Atlantis, that's 6. 2 Sea Stealth, 7, 8. We have we have 8 ways to get into an Umi card, essentially. So I would say that's pretty consistent. And some of you guys might be like, oh, that's actually a lot of dead draws. But you guys don't understand. You either see this card, or you don't play the game. There's really little to say about that, to be honest. So if I can increase the consistency of seeing this card, I will. Again, you can argue like, oh, we can cut off 1 Warrior of Atlantis and have 7 ways to get into it. That way, number 1, we can add something else to the deck that can support, but also still maintain a pretty high level of consistency. Sea Stealth 2, I want to talk about it. Sea Stealth 2 is great. I've always been an advocate of 2C stealth 2s. So a lot of people seem to forget that, number one, this specials at the start of the battle phase a water monster from your hand and or graveyard. Meaning that if somehow your Kairyu-Shin gets sent to the graveyard, or somehow you don't have a way to get your Kairyu-Shin on the field, you can just activate this, pass, not advisable by the way, but activate this, pass, your opponent goes off, right? And then during battle phase, you can declare this effect, special summon the Kairyu-Shin, and it nukes your your opponent's entire board. It does get destroyed during the end phase, but there are ways around it, and the fact that you can kind of keep recycling your water monsters is fantastic. And the second effect that is really good, that again people tend to forget, is the fact that your water monsters cannot be targeted with non-water monsters effects. There is no deck right now in the meta that really runs a consistent water monster. I think like Pearly has one, but then you have Kairyu-Shin already on the board, so I rarely ever see that. And Marincess is just an awful matchup for this deck, honestly. But you know, C Stealth is, I think, a must at 2, especially where there's cards that, you know, single target pop, right? It just forces them to target this card, or and then you have your C Stealth attack where you can protect your continuous spells and traps. So this is my ocean, right? This is my ocean. So yeah, you guys let me know. For the searching, now careful with searching nowadays. Remember, Droll is a very impactful card. So make sure that the card that you're activating, it is a necessity. You're not just activating a search card to search it, right? So if I have Kairyu-Shin, if I already have Kairyu-Shin in hand, my next target is to get to a legendary ocean. So I'm going to activate terraforming. If they draw me on the resolution of terraforming, that is okay, because I can activate legendary ocean, normal summon Kairyu-Shin, and I'm sitting happy. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Don't go doing unnecessary things. Don't go making explosive plays or anything in a control deck that needs to manage their resources. 3 fish sonar. I apologize if I'm sounding like a dad, by the way. Again, I'm just very passionate about this deck. So yeah, so 3 fish sonars, it searches your deck, essentially. It searches your Kairyu-Shin, it searches your electric jellyfish, and then if you run the vanilla, it special summons it. This card is ash bait, essentially. It's a great, fantastic, beautiful card, right? But it's ash bait. Let's be honest, right? This is like our branded fusion. So we are also running 3 pots of prosperity. Shout out to my boy Alejandro. Thank you again for investing in me. So 3 pots of prosperity. Prosperity is fantastic in this deck, allowing you to just dig for that one card, right? If you need a Kairyu-Shin in your hand, if you need you know, a legendary ocean in hand, this deck just facilitates that. Your extra deck doesn't matter in this version of Umi control. So therefore prosperity is essentially just free. There's really nothing else to say about prosperity. I don't recommend extravagance in this build, just because extravagance, it's in this deck, it's better to pick. It's not like a trap deck where, you know, drawing 2 cards is really good, right? You can run extravagance on a budget, but I very highly recommend prosperity, just again because it is it's better to know you're going to get a legendary ocean than pray to God that you're getting a legendary ocean or a Kairyu-Shin, you know. Consistency tools, right? We're in the consistency section of the deck. 3 foolish burials. You cannot convince me otherwise. The deck is Kairyu-Shin. The deck is Kairyu-Shin. Why would you not want it in hand? And number 2, you cannot, like, you can ash this, right? But this is a draw. This is to play around draw as well. And I will I guess I'll get to it when I get to it. But this is to play around draw as well. Okay, I'll tell you guys the interaction now, but essentially this is to drop your ice barrier. I guess I'll say it now. This foolishes your ice barrier from the deck. Ice barrier's effect, you can banish it from the graveyard to dump a level 5 or higher water monster from your deck to the graveyard, and then you can add a water monster from your graveyard to your hand. So no card is getting added from the deck to the hand, therefore you cannot draw me. So it allows me to save like a key search, right? Like if I need a terraforming or if I need my Warrior of Atlantis to go off, I'm still able to activate it. This also gets you your Kaiju, right? This is where the free Kaiju comes in. But the reason why I'm running 3 Foolish Burial Goods is because you need to see your Kairyu-Shin. You need to see it. Again, by all means, you can, I'm going to tell you some of the excess meat that maybe the deck has for you that I don't see it, but you can maybe cut this to 2, cut a Warrior of Atlantis to 1, and there you go, you have 2 free slots, right? So again, the deck is very malleable with what it wants to do. I want to drop Kairyu-Shin and I want to laugh and enjoy my time, right? So again, support 3 Dark Ruler no more. This is it for the spells. Dark Ruler no more. This deck isn't going to go for any OTKs. You want to Dark Ruler your opponent's board, normal summon Kairyu-Shin, nuke their board, and laugh. That's literally what you want to do. So this card is just fantastic. Going first or second. I always seem to lose the die roll, so the card does a lot more, a lot better for me than I guess it does anybody else, right? For the traps, God card, right? Sea Stealth Attack. So, again, I'm already seeing like the comments and the ratios, right? Hey, I can just run 1 Warrior of Atlantis, 2 Foolish Burials, and 2 Sea Stealth Attack, meaning I can open up 3 slots for a hand trap of choice, Ash Blossom, Veiler, whatever you want, or any other card you would like to add. Now, my reasoning behind 3 Sea Stealth Attack is, number 1, it protects your Kairyu-Shin, right? It banishes and returns it during the end phase. Number 2, it protects cards like Sea Stealth Attack from getting popped, or a Legendary Ocean from getting popped. And number 3, if I have one of these in hand, right, and I'm able to get Kairyu-Shin on the board, that's 1 less search that I need to perform. So what I highly recommend is if you're able to drop Kairyu-Shin, use its effect to search out Sea Stealth if you don't already have it. This card is like your 3rd searcher, right? If first it's your Legendary Ocean, then your Kairyu-Shin, and then this would be your 3rd searcher. Because this just adds so much added protection to not only your face-up spell and trap cards, but to your Kairyu-Shin as well. Because they know at the end phase, whatever they do, it's going to come back. And it doesn't special, it just returns. And remember, Kairyu-Shin, the effect does not activate. It is just a passive. When it hits the board, you have to choose. So, to me, I think 3 is fantastic. And again, it helps me get overboard. It gives all my level 5s kind of like a Catastor effect or a construct effect. This card is actually one of the reasons why I miss running the level 5 or higher vanilla, because it gives me another, like, you know, having 2 Kairyu-Shins on the board is cool and stuff like that, but yeah, that's not a lot of damage. So having a monster that can get to 26 or something in that regard, I mean, it's pretty good for damage, right? So 3 Sea Stealth Attack. To be honest with you, I've played with 2, and I hate the fact that I have to search it as much as I do. I'd rather just see it in my opening hand. This card is really good. 2 Kairyu-Shin's Dark Reef. This is your engine starter. So if you open up a Legendary Ocean or an Umi and a Sea Stealth Attack plus this is your entire starter. Hopefully this doesn't get ashed, right? So you send the face-up Umi from your field to the graveyard, and then, you know, obviously you do it during your opponent's, like, draw phase or something like that, right? You know, you send your card to your Umi to the graveyard, and then Chainlink 2, you activate Sea Stealth to reactivate your Umi, whichever one you send, Sea Stealth 2 or a Legendary Ocean, and then you summon out your Kairyu-Shin in defense and your Electric Jellyfish in defense. There you go. You have your lock. Fantastic. Plus Sea Stealth, plus a Legendary Ocean. You're having a good time. So Kairyu-Shin's Dark Reef is good. Again, I've seen this ratio before, where it's like 1 Kairyu-Shin, 2 Sea Stealth. You can get away with that, but again, I mean, this is your engine. Remember, you're playing Umi control, right? Remember, you need your cards to really do anything. So I feel like this is the correct ratio in Umi control. Maybe in the Shark variant it's different, but yeah. I'm running 2 Ice Barriers. Like I said in the the previous rant, 3 Foolish Burial, 2 Ice Barriers. I just hate the ratio of 2-2. So 3 Foolish Burial to get me into these 2 Ice Barriers. Essentially, this also has a pretty useful effect that if you do draw it, you can activate it during the damage step, and it changes your opponent's monster non-targeting to 0 and negates its effects. So I usually do it during damage step to protect another layer, on Kairyu-Shin or my Electric Jellyfish that they're trying to play around. And again, it's non-drollable. The graveyard effect is non-drollable. I already went over it. And for the rest of the deck, to make it a flat 40, remember, I always seem to lose the die roll to evenly matches. That is it for the main deck. I mean, evenly matches is just a fantastic card. A lot of people play other floodgates. Like, I've seen people play goes and match. I don't understand why. You're already running goes and match. If you were to play another floodgate, it would probably be there can be only one. Or hell, even skill drain. Right? Even skill drain, though I don't really like that card. But yeah, I don't know why people would play goes and match in trap form when you already have Kairyu-Shin. Anyway, that's it for the deck, guys. Please, if you have any questions, just leave a comment down below. I know I'm not going over a side deck or anything like that because that is still an experimental phase. The extra deck does not matter in this version. If you guys want me to go over a shark build, an Umi control shark build, please just let me know. I mean, I love this deck, so yeah. Anyways, guys, puzzles will out. Best of luck.